the news update. Keffe D supposedly faced the judge today in the TUPAC case. We finna check it out, see what's going on.
Welcome back to the Law and Crime Network. I'm Linda Kenny Bodden. We are discussing the amazing arrest of somebody who is now, the police say, a suspect, not just a suspect. They claim that he is the actual giving the order kind of guy, the guy who said, you shoot TUPAC Shakur, and that the case may finally be solved after 27 years. And the person they have arrested, Richard Schoenstein, is Dwayne Keffe D. Davis, who was in a car with three other people there. The three people are dead, but the
Keffe D got what he wanted, huh? He talked about it so much. He got the jail time he wanted, and he got the fame he wanted. Let's see where this go.
Prosecutors allege that he had the gun and he handed it to his nephew in the back seat and ordered him to shoot TUPAC Shakur. Now, before we went to break, we were talking about the problems of prosecuting somebody after this period of time, and every witness in the back of the car is dead, including the alleged shooter, the alleged gun person, okay? But there was a...
See, that's what I'm saying. With everybody being dead, he the only one alive. Do you really think the story is true, he was there, or do you think he just trying to claim the fame to be there? There's nobody to tell the real story. Nobody gonna come out if and just say, oh, I did it, if they're alive. Let's see.
Witness in another car, supposedly Suge Knight. Suge Knight has said publicly he's not going to testify in this case should he be subpoenaed by the prosecutors. Now, would Suge Knight have immunity under the Fifth Amendment? In other words, could he assert his immunity? Could he assert the Fifth Amendment and not testify?
I think so. I mean, I'd have to think about that a little more, but I don't see why he couldn't. He is supposedly connected to the altercation that precedes this shooting, right? I guess that happened at a Mike Tyson fight, of all things, right, between the two groups. And he's in the car.
For those who don't know, Mike Tyson was...
Now, this is what I don't get. I understand they want Suge Knight to get on the stand and testify, which we know he's not going to do. But at the end of the day, this really ain't got nothing to do with Suge, far as him getting arrested or charged for this situation. Don't know where the lady going, what angle she going, but we finna check it out.
A world champion boxer. He also appeared in some funny movies afterwards and had his own show on Broadway, but that's...
Yeah. So there's a fight at the Tyson, there's a fight at the Tyson fight, and then Suge Knight is in the car with TUPAC when he is killed, and it's always been speculated that he knew who did it. One, because he was part of the altercation, and two, because he was in the car. Suge Knight is serving, as I understand it, a 28-year prison sentence right now. I'm sure is not interested in getting in any further trouble and probably wants no part of this trial whatsoever.
And he's not going to, if he's in serving a sentence, he's not going to become, shall we say, as we used to call it, now it's called an incentivized informant, but a snitch against somebody.
That seems very unlikely, especially since...
See, that's how you know the eras and the generations is different. You could tell she like a Gen X or something because she acting like she don't know what's going on. But you heard how she just said it, don't want to be called a so-called snitch. She know what's going on.
If he knows who did it, it's a secret that he's been keeping secret for 27 years. Mm-hmm. So it makes no sense that he would suddenly violate that and violate, the gang credo or whatever it is and give up the information now. So one option is he says, I'm taking the Fifth. I won't implicate myself. I'm not going to testify about the events that day. That would probably hold. And the second option is I imagine he could just say, I don't know who shot him.
Right.
There was a car next to us and he was shot. I wasn't concerning myself with identifying the...
Exactly. All I seen was fire. I don't know who was shooting. I don't know where the gunfire was coming from. That's all you gonna get from Suge. So they wasting their time trying to hit that angle.
Shooter, I was concerning myself with staying alive.
Or the what used to call a general named Ollie North. I don't remember defense.
Right.
Also, right? So you have three options there. But no. So getting back to this, is the prosecution then just planning to use statements against Dwayne Davis, statements that he made, or do you think that perhaps they have other informants in some way?
I don't know if they have other informants. That's a possibility. I don't know the strength of their evidence that these two gangs were at each other. I don't know what they have in terms of witnesses to the altercation at the Mike Tyson fight, but presumably we're going to hear about all of that because it's the predicate for the shooting. Presumably we're going to hear whatever evidence they have about this gun, when it was purchased, where it came from. I don't know if they know that.
Well, let me just throw a little fact in there that our viewers probably also know. You know, there was a search warrant executed, right, during the course of this grand jury investigation, and now we have an indictment. Do you think perhaps they had some evidence relating to the gun or the cartridges that TUPAC Shakur was shot with in the home or in an area that Dwayne Keffe D. Davis lived in?
It's possible. I don't know. I would think.
Now that's wild. This many years later, if he still got the gun or some evidence in his house, he just wanted the fame. He was waiting on this day for them to come get him, and he wanted to go down for the murder of Tupac. That's all I could see going on. All right, let's check it out.
The statements alone would be enough to get him indicted, but it's probably not enough to get him convicted, right? To your point, there's some equivocation in the statements as to exactly what they mean. He doesn't, I doubt he said, I gave him a gun and ordered him to kill Tupac. I mean, that doesn't seem like something he would admit to.
Well, let me put that in too. If he had said that, I would think that there'd be the rival, if this was a gang rival, they'd say, okay, we're going to go and kill you.
This picture right here always tripped me out looking at Pac. So when you look at Pac and you know that Pac really wasn't a gangster, you can see it in his face. That boy looked like a child right now. Or maybe he just knew, his time was coming. But to me, I just see like, damn, what I got myself into look in his face. Like he don't even want to be in the car with Suge at the moment. But that's neither here or there, just my opinion. Let's see what's going on.
If you ordered the hit, because I don't even know the circumstances of how the other three people in the car died. I haven't looked into that. Have you?
Well, I believe it's not connected to that incident, right? I think they died later, but I don't know the circumstances
surrounding it. Yeah. So it's a really interesting case. But what I want to now is play the issue, and I want to play when we heard that there was an arrest in the TUPAC Shakur case by the state. Why don't we listen?
All right, good afternoon. My name is Kevin McMahill. I'm the sheriff of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. 27 years. 27 years. Dwayne Keith Davis, a.k.a. Keffe D, for the murder of TUPAC Shakur. Davis was arrested this morning by my LVMPD criminal apprehension team, and this investigation started on the night of September 7th, 1996. It is far from over.
And my goal here today is to walk you through our investigation and what led us to the indictment of Dwayne Davis, also known as Keffe D, for the murder of TUPAC Shakur. This case has been reviewed by our homicide team and homicide detectives for over 2.5 decades. And ultimately, our persistence in this investigation has paid off. Let me walk you through a timeline of events that as we know them right now. Prior to September 7th of 1996, as we all know, TUPAC Shakur was an artist who was signed with Death Row Records. And that Death Row Records and its CEO, Marion Suge Knight, were closely affiliated with the Mob Piru criminal street gangs, and that they had an ongoing feud with the Southside Compton Crips. Dwayne Davis was the leader and shot caller of the Southside Compton Crips. And both of these gangs operated out of the Southern California. On the night of September 7th of 1996, TUPAC Shakur, along with Suge Knight, and members of their entourage, which include members of Mob Piru, came to Vegas to attend the Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Members of the Southside Compton Crips, which included Dwayne Davis, along with his nephew Orlando Anderson, were also in attendance at the same event. As both were leaving the fight, members of Death Row Records spotted Orlando Anderson near an elevator bank inside the MGM, and at that time they began to kick and punch him.
What's crazy, I really don't remember this story too well. I'm going to go back and brush up on it so I can keep y'all updated. But Keffe D in the beginning ratted on his own nephew. Now, tell me what type of gangster is that? Ratting, for one, is unacceptable. Then you rat on your nephew for handling business and want fame for your nephew work. This shit is wild.
Near that elevator bank. I will now show you hotel security footage, as many of you have already seen, related to this incident. And on this incident, you will see TUPAC Shakur, who's wearing a shiny satiny shirt, along with Marion Suge Knight, who's a large man in a brown suit, punching and kicking Orlando Anderson. Following this incident, you'll see hotel security intervene, and then they will leave the area of the fight.
What's crazy, they jumped on him, but all them did all that punching and kicking, and that man got up and walked away. Yeah, okay.
A Clark County grand jury has indicted Dwayne Keith Davis with 1 count of open murder with use of a deadly weapon with a gang enhancement. Davis will appear in court in the next few days or so for a hearing to determine his custody status and to set a jury trial date. This grand jury has been receiving evidence for months and has determined there is sufficient evidence to justify the filing of this criminal indictment. I've assigned 2 of my top prosecutors, Mark DiGiacomo and Banu Palal, to prosecute this case. I know a lot of people have been watching and waiting for this day. TUPAC Shakur is a music legend, and for a long time, this community and worldwide have been wanting justice for TUPAC. Today, we are taking that first step.
And you just heard how and what led to the history of Dwayne Keffe D. Davis getting arrested. But right now, our own Anjanette Levy from the Law and Crime Network was in that courtroom when the supposed arraignment.
Uh-oh, y'all, here it go. We finna see what happened today in court with Keffe D, a.k.a. Goofball.
Didn't occur, but there was a court proceeding. Anjanette, tell us everything you saw, everything about what happened, why it was put off. And I know that you have a guest with you also to discuss this. Welcome.
Yes. Well, Michael Troiano is a defense attorney here in Las Vegas. He is with me, and Michael, thanks so much for joining me. Linda, first off, Dwayne Keffe D. Davis walked into that courtroom. He has an attorney, but his attorney, Edie Fall, cannot be here today. So this hearing was continued for 2 weeks until October 19th. So Keffe D. did not enter a plea. He will continue to be held without bail at the Clark County Jail. And so really nothing of consequence happened today. We were expecting him to enter a plea, but obviously he doesn't have counsel with him, but he has retained counsel. There was a woman who was here in support of him. There was also a rapper from Death Row Records in the courtroom. More media than anybody else, if you can imagine that. That's often what happens in these cases. A lot of international press here to cover this event. Michael, are you surprised at all by what happened today?
Death Row ain't playing with that boy. They had somebody in the courtroom watching, and that's the one they seen watching. Believe me, it was more in there. Now, this dude didn't even see the judge today, couldn't put in the plea deal or nothing. Do he got the money for his lawyer? They say the lawyer didn't show up on the first court date. Let's see what's going on.
Given the fact that Keffe D, Dwayne Davis, does not have an attorney or did not have an attorney with him in court.
No, I'm not surprised. I mean, this case has been going on for a little bit over 30 years now, and the fact that his attorney is out of California, had to be here on short notice, makes sense. And he's probably going to have to find local counsel as well so that he could pro hoc vice in and be able to practice here in front of the Clark County courts.
This case has been going on now, as you mentioned, for almost 3 decades. So a lot of people didn't think this day would actually come, even though a lot of people knew what presumably happened that night. Keffe D, obviously innocent until proven guilty. What was the reaction in the legal community here?
Well, once his home was raided, several months ago, it was expected, at least in the local criminal defense community. I mean, they typically aren't going to go in and raid a home, especially with a case with this much history, without expecting to find something, at least from the law enforcement perspective.
What do you expect to happen next at that October 19th hearing? Obviously, that will be an arraignment. He should enter a plea, but do you expect anything else to happen?
I would imagine within the next 2 weeks he's going to find local counsel so that his California attorney could pro hoc vice in, which will allow him to practice in front of the Nevada State Bar for these limited purposes. And then they'll probably schedule a bail hearing where his attorneys will probably file a lengthy written bail motion, and the state will reply with an opposition, and then there will likely be a hearing where the main detective will testify at the bail hearing. So it'll almost be a preview to the trial in a sense.
DA Steve Wolfson said that he continues to be held without bail, and they will continue to ask that Keffe D be held without bail. Do you think there's any chance he gets any type of bond?
I mean, that's interesting. I mean, it's very difficult to get bond in a murder case, especially here in Clark County, because it's one of the only crimes where the state has the ability to request that, essentially, with no other open cases and convoluted issues like that. But the fact that the case is so old, and apparently he hasn't been in any sort of trouble in many recent years, probably leads to a puncher's chance. But I would imagine that he's going to be held no bail if I had to bet on it.
Yeah, I would think so too. I mean, it's a huge case. Is there any talk in the legal community about this? What's kind of the word on the ground, if you would, or the word around the courthouse among lawyers?
We all want to know who he's going to hire. Maybe me. Who knows?
Okay, but I mean, is there talk about this might be a tough case to prosecute only because he could say, I was just blowing smoke. It was a bunch of bluster, since his proffer from, the mid-2000s cannot be used against him, the proffer in which he laid out for investigators what happened.
Yeah, a book is a book, and a book can be interpreted as fantasy, just like a rap lyric can be interpreted as fantasy. And going back all these decades, they don't have the sophistication that they do now with GPS monitoring, but it seems very likely that they're going to at least be able to put him in Las Vegas that evening. What happens after that is going to be anybody's guess until discovery starts.
Okay, y'all, now, today was Keffe D's first court appearance for the TUPAC case. His lawyer didn't show up. They prolonged it. He go away in, I don't know what, December sometime. But he don't have a bail. And it seems like he don't even have enough to get his lawyer to where it need to be on time. So, thank y'all for coming and rocking with the Gorilla Gang. Vibe with Big Heavy Podcast. I'm out.